Approximately.
Sorry about that.
This meeting is being recorded.
That's okay.
Okay.
Alrighty, so I will continue to push the MTA to place the M9A order, as the M3 fleet needs to be retired sooner than later. Approximately 100 M3s are rapidly approaching the end of their useful life and are still in service at this time. I will also continue to push for the restoration of timed connections to Jamaica during the evening rush hour. I will be working with Lisa and the PCAC office to push for legislation that will help us fill the openings on the Long Island Railroad Commuters Council by eliminating the requirement that 3 names for every open position be sent up to Albany. We will also be working to establish better relationships with both the Nassau and Suffolk County executives to get nominees submitted to Albany for approval. I'll also be working with the PCA office to push legislation to get full voting membership for the 3 riders representatives on the MTA board. This will allow us not just to vote, but to make motions, second motions, count towards a quorum, which will allow the committees to function more efficiently, and also to allow us to serve in chairmanship positions, which we cannot do at this time. I also just wanted to take a moment to mention that one of our concerned citizens who attended a lot of our meetings passed away recently. So our condolences to the family. He'll be missed. And last but not least, there was
Jerry, who was that? Who are we talking about?
Ron Troy. And thanks to Stu for letting us know. Yeah.
Oh,
wow.
Ron Troy.
Wow.
I didn't know.
Yeah,
Stu, thank you.
He was an advocate for the people on the Port Jefferson branch and Northport in particular. And he made some very valid points, and things that we were able to take to the railroad. So it's unfortunate, but no, he did pass away sometime in early December, I believe.
Yeah. There have been some members or some concerned people on the who've participated at the Metro North Council who've had some recognition at different stations. Maybe there's a sign or a plaque or something we can ask the railroad to consider for Ron at his home station, or just some kind of reference there.
That's a pretty good thought. It's something we can broach with Hector in the too distant future.
Yeah, Annabelle, I don't know if that's something that you guys have done or do, but we can talk offline about that.
Definitely. Actually, I'm drafting up an email for Hector right now to.
Okay. There was one other thing. It's not in my written report, but there had been word that Amtrak is considering running service to Ronkonkoma as part of their expansion. Personally, I think that's pie in the sky. I think when they do the analysis, they'll find out it's not going to be cost efficient to them or cost effective. Their plan was to run 3 trains out to Ronkonkoma and 3 trains back every day. And I guess these trains would go on to Philadelphia and Washington. But personally, I just don't see it happening. But let's see how this all plays out. But again, right now, it's just going to be a study. So that's all I have for my TIERS report. If anyone has any questions.
I do know that Amtrak has run some track geometry trains out to Ronkonkoma. So they've I guess paved the way, as it were. It would have been really helpful for me today on my Amtrak to zing me out to Mineola. But that's something that they've absolutely talked about as maybe even further.
Well, the problem is with that is they can't. It's not like they can run to Greenport and take a bridge across and then pick up their line over in New London. So they're deadheaded in Ronkonkoma. So they're going to wind up with the same issues that we had when we opened up Grand Central Madison and had to divert some trains, over to the east side. So they're going to have to divert trains that are going to be going from Washington to Boston to come out to Ronkonkoma. I don't see it, but let's see what their analysis brings and see what happens. My other concern was if they do that, they are notorious for not being on time, particularly a train coming out of, say, Washington, D.C., by the time it gets to New York. So they might not hit their slot, and then they're going to run into traffic. We're either going to delay them, they're going to delay us. But again, right now it's just a proposal, and let's see how it all plays out. So with that being said,
Deborah has her hand raised.
oh, okay, Deborah.
I think so. Well, what you're saying about Amtrak, I agree, but the big problem with Amtrak is when it goes to New Jersey, that's when it loses a lot of time. Because I travel a lot with Amtrak, and it's always with
Yep.
Jersey, we get stuck because there's a fire, the bridge is out, or they didn't, a whole thing with the crew. But the other thing I'm concerned about, with Jamaica and no, I do not blame Long Island Railroad, is that the Port Authority is not keeping their word about keeping the elevators and escalators repaired. Because the last time I was there, one of the Long Island Cares guys wanted to take me in the elevator, go down through where the service, and I refused because the smell would have affected, and I was already having issues with my asthma. And thankfully I was able to be bridged. So they were able to bridge me through a train to get to the Brooklyn train. And I have I have gone to the Port Authority meetings and I've put in testimony in writing and stuff. So I want to know, since I've been sick for the last 3 weeks with my asthma, have they made any repairs out there for the elevators and escalators? And are they still trying to blame Long Island Railroad and the MTA?
I don't know, Annabelle, you'd have to feel that one.
That's something that we'd have to go to the Port Authority and speak with them about. Deborah, you said you went to their meetings. Have you spoken to anyone directly by chance?
Yeah, what's it, O'Toole, Mr. O'Toole, because you testify if they have you testify in front of everybody during public session.
Okay.
And they kept assuring me that they would fix it and keep it up. But I know that's what they say because it's a public meeting and it was being recorded, which I understood that. And I asked nicely, but it is frustrating because when I use my walker, I can get away a little bit if I have to in an emergency, use the escalator to go up, as long as I have assistance. But it's still not great that that the elevators and the escalators keep breaking down. So then it makes it harder for people with disabilities, the seniors, people carrying big packages or trying to get up and down with the baby strollers. And I did bring that up, but you see, what gets me upset is that every time I turn around, everyone's blaming Long Island Railroad, the MTA, when it is not your elevators. And yes, I've said this to the press, so I don't know how much more should I do? No, I'm not giving up, but it's frustrating.
So I
Deborah-
was at a conference, and the Port Authority was speaking about some of the innovative, actually somebody else was speaking about some of the innovation things that have happened out of the tech, the tech initiatives and challenges that have come along. And one of them was about making sure that the Port Authority's escalators and elevators that there's an alert for the escalators and elevators that are out of service. And Rick Cotton spoke up and said that he wanted that on his desk. So, I mean, maybe we can, as a council, write a letter and just express our concern. Annabelle, if you could just check into the last time of when somebody came out, when repairs were made, then we could reference that in a letter if that's something you all want to do.
Yeah, no, I think we definitely need to send a letter.
Yep.
To the
Yeah.
Port Authority, just saying that we've had repeated complaints from our ridership and that, they really need to do something.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't go to the meeting in December, not because my asthma, I had also mild bronchitis, and I wasn't going to go to the meeting and cough at everybody. Didn't even want to hear.
No, that's
So my
understood.
testimony was sent. I sent it,
Yeah.
but still I'm frustrated because
No,
when
you've
I go
raised it
out
a
to
number,
July.
you've raised it a number of times, Deborah, so it's, I mean, you've
Mhm.
definitely made the point, and it's, it should be something that they acknowledge and register. Annabelle, if you can check, any records and with, stations to see, operations, to see any records that they have, because I'm sure that they want to keep that information straight, so that they, that they can keep a record of, look, it's not us, but this is the last time it was done. And we'll include that in our letter. Mike
Sure.
Wojnar went over to to Rick Cotton's office, so we have we got a guy. Not that
Yes.
he's gonna fix him, but he's a resource.
Thank you, because it's.
Yep.
Because I have done my part. I do testify, I do put the complaints in correctly.
Yep,
And my
and
only
we'll do ours.
And I
yeah.
did complain also about when they're cleaning their restrooms, they should be telling us, the riding public, and I'm talking about where the air train is, that they're cleaning it. They said to me it's broken, but what it was they were cleaning it. And it was frustrating because I needed to use the restroom. And they said, do you think it's so easy to walk around with a walker?
Alright.
So they acted like, so I did make a formal complaint about that too.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
All right. Any other questions before we move down to Lisa? Okay, seeing none. Lisa, do you want to give your executive director report?
Sure. Let's see, I'll start with our staffing update. Jack's been with us for 4 months, 5 months, something like that.
Since October, so
October, yeah,
3.
that's 3. Yeah, he's been with us for a little while, he's been with us since last year. And has really hit the ground running. He and Kara really dived into a couple of top of mind issues. And collectively, we are working on the priorities that Jerry mentioned. Their voting membership, Jack is our point person on that legislative front there. We are working to identify the right person and mechanism for changing the authorizing legislation to make it from 3 voting, 3 names submitted to 1 for membership. And we've also made some great progress with the key recommendations that came out of the Omni report that Kara and Ryan, who just got a job offer, put forth for the Omni report. So Senator Comrie is championing that. And we're hoping that we're going to get further buy-in and support. And one of the things that we think is really key low-hanging fruit, Annabelle, you've heard this several times. And we're hoping the governor just says that's a great idea, is enabling morning peak disabled and senior fares on the Long Island Railroad and Metro North that currently don't exist. I said that right? And we think that that's just a no-brainer. It doesn't currently exist. It exists every other time, including in the afternoon peak. We're looking at a couple of other Long Island Railroad and Metro North specific things that would be funded by a fair fares for city ticket on Long Island Railroad and Metro North within the city, that the city council, we're asking the city council to extend funding for, and also for the city ticket weekly, which would take the place of the Atlantic ticket weekly that we believe could be funded by the Outer Borough Transit account, which was part of congestion pricing phase 1 in 2019, for which money exists. So a few things there that would increase affordability, accessibility, and ridership, and revenue without, overwhelming the system. So those are some of the things that we're focused on. We do want to hear your priorities as well, as we're putting together PCAC's 2024 overarching priorities. I want to just say one more thing. Our search for an associate director continues. We had identified a candidate that we wanted to make an offer to in December. That person took another job. Honestly, it's their dream job. This is their second dream job. So I can't blame them. And they will be a tremendous asset to us in that other position. Continue to be a tremendous asset to us in that other position. It's not within the MTA, but in an elected official's office at the federal level, who is a real champion of transportation. So we are looking forward to that. And Jerry and I went to the Long Island Association breakfast on Friday, where there was a lot of great emphasis on infrastructure. The governor spoke about housing. The county executive spoke about housing. We in the office are looking at ways to improve accessibility to housing on MTA properties, and through some of the mechanisms that the governor's identified, and also that the MTA's TOD office is working through. So there's some really exciting stuff that our small but mighty team is working on. So the Fabulous Four is still looking to be the Fantastic Five. But that's, we want to make sure that we're bringing the right person on. Kara
And
and
you
Jack.
did-
Yes,
And you did have some FaceTime with the two county executives, right, at the breakfast? I think
Yes,
you were able to get hold of them at least for a couple of minutes each.
absolutely. I definitely went and sharp elbowed my way to their people, and got made some good contacts there, and highlighted the importance of them filling their vacancies. We also recently met with the Queensborough President's Office about their vacancies on our councils there, and are following up with the Brooklyn BP's office as well for the LIRRCC. So things are moving there. Congestion pricing continues. It's in what's known as the SAPA process right now. So that's a state administrative process. State Administrative Procedure Act is the right term. It's a public comment period. This, as a reminder, that it's congestion pricing has passed and state law in 2019. So the steps that are happening now are procedural, but they continue to be important for people to weigh in on the public comment side. As I spoke to a reporter the other day and said, look, it's not, the MTA is not just listening, they're hearing. And we're seeing that based on some of the outcomes. There was a reduction in the proposed reduction in the fee for motorcyclists. There was a proposed extension of the overnight hours and a reduction in the cost. The federal government decreased or added some additional exemptions for people with additional needs. So, this is another shot for the MTA board to have a final vote. I think it'll probably be the March board meeting, could potentially be the April board meeting before it goes into effect. So we'll ask anybody who's gung-ho to and open to testifying at one of the meetings. We're happy to prepare that testimony and sign you up.
And
Oh.
yeah, in fact, the public hearings at 2 Broadway, the dates for that have been set. So the first one will be the end of February. That will be on Thursday, February 29th at 6 p.m. Then on Friday, March 1st, they'll have a public hearing at 2 Broadway at 10 a.m. And then they come back on Monday, the 4th, with a double header, a 10 a.m. hearing and a 6 p.m. hearing.
Yeah, and they're hybrid, so you can participate from the comfort of your own wherever you are. And if you come to 2 Broadway, we will ply you with snacks.
All righty. Yeah, I've got some. I'm sorry.
So go ahead, Jerry.
No, I said I've got something for the committee too. So see if they listen to my suggestion, but we'll see how that goes.
All right. Great. Deborah you've got your hand raised, Deborah?
Yep.
Okay, first of all, I'm really glad to hear about your doing about the peak fares, because it's very unfair.
Mhm.
And what's frustrating is there was, and I already did the complaint, but there were certain conductors who actually accused Christopher of not having a disability, that he faked it. And it was like, it was a good thing I wasn't there, because I probably would have been taken off the train in handcuffs, but because I was so angry, and I did go to the office and
You
I made,
should always obviously get their name and number so
did,
that
we
they can
did,
be reported.
we did. She was
Okay.
reported.
Yeah.
It was reported, because I did go to the office and I did speak. This was
Okay.
before Annabelle. But the part is that I'm glad that now, because of those complaints, they didn't start. Now they're not doing that as much to the other people with disabilities. But what's frustrating is, like, in Metro North, if I get on at New London in the morning, I have to pay full fare.
Yep.
That's like, and I'm like, no, I'm not, that's not fair or right. The other thing I want to say is, reference with fares, if we do that for the city tickets, I'm asking you this for, the reason is because, for fares for Accessorite, it only goes up to age 64. Now, and is this going to also be for people who are seniors who go after they're 65?
I
Because,
I don't know how it works now. We'd have to look into that.
okay, that's
Also,
one.
we don't administer it,
I
so it
understand that.
would
I
be
do
however it's
understand.
administered.
No, I understand that, but I'm asking this now before anything's completely done.
That's we'll ask. We'll find that out.
Okay. Number two, yes, of course, I will love to testify for congesting pricing. I'm very tired of sitting in accessory when I have to come to 2 Broadway. It took us only like 20 minutes to get all the way to the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel and Mahogany Accessory. We got through the tunnel. Everything was fine. Just to get into 2 Broadway took a half an hour more.
Mhm.
So my cousin and I are squirming because we need the ladies' room.
Right. Yeah.
Chris was like, no, he very rarely, but we were very frustrated because we see these big, gigantic cars with one person in it.
Yep.
And
No,
then
I think Deborah, we're all frustrated by it.
so
So
just try sitting in accessory when you gotta go to the bathroom, and he
Yeah.
can't even get you out because there's no safe place to put you out.
okay. Is there,
So
okay, we'll
I will
put you down
testify,
as it, okay,
okay?
great. Okay,
all
great.
right?
Okay,
That's,
thank you. Jerry,
All
did
right.
you have something that you wanted to add to the,
Well, yeah, I just wanted to add to the breakfast that we went to last week. I thought I made a score when I introduced myself and got some FaceTime with the governor's representative for Nassau County. She still hasn't appointed a representative for Suffolk County yet. And then I found out on Monday that he got a promotion and he's going to no longer be in that position. So, but he assured me that he will let me know when the governor has appointed a Suffolk County rep and or a Nassau County representative.
you did tell Elisa Pica that she should,
I did say she should apply for, yeah.
now she could do both.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, technically, I think she lives in Nassau, so the Nassau job might even be better for her.
Well, we told her to stay at the Suffolk County Executive's office, but I don't know that she'd be listening to us.
Well,
Yes.
I guess that was one of those deals. The new administration comes in and everybody's supposed to tender
Yeah.
their resignation, and then they decide whether they want to keep you or not.
Yeah, I mean, she's been shepherding the Port Jeff electrification project and the Lawrence Aviation site. So maybe, and that's something that Ed Romaine is a real champion of. So maybe, who knows? Adam has his hand raised.
Yes, I wanted to know, is Nassau County, I know there's vacancies now, is supposed to have one representative or 3, or is it 2 separate things?
5. On our councils, there are
Mhm.
5, right? 5.
Right, we're entitled to 5, and I think we only have 2 filled at this time. I think we have 3 openings in Nassau, and I think we have 2 openings in Suffolk.
And so what you were just talking about is filling one of those 3 openings?
Oh, no, we want to fill all 3 openings.
Of course.
Problem is that the state requires that we send 3, that the county executive sends 3 names up for each position.
Right.
So it's hard enough to get one person to want to volunteer to do the job, to get 3 people and then send them up and then have to disappoint 2 of them. It's crazy. So we're trying to get the legislation changed so that
Mhm.
one name for each position. So if they send 3 names up, they can fill all 3 positions with 3 names. What they're telling us, we send 3 names up, they'll pick 1, and then we still have 2 open positions, which is ludicrous.
Mhm.
Right.
We've got 2 people currently, and we've got 3 vacancies for Nassau, two vacancies for Suffolk.
Thank
Uh,
Hey, Jerry, is the approval process still as lengthy and as it was? It has changed at all or no? Yeah.
It-
It's
It
still
says-
brutal.
it still has to go through the governor's appointments office. They have been a little more responsive. However, based on interaction at the Long Island Association meeting last Friday, politics always play role. So, we'll see how things
Yeah.
move.
Well, when I did it, they asked for 3 years of tax returns. I mean, it was insane.
Really? I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Well, to show you how to show you how dysfunctional the state government is, okay, they given us a 13th member. But that's what, a bike ped person, Lisa? But
Yes.
there's no mechanism to have that person appointed. Does the Suffolk County representative send it? Does the Nassau County representative recommend it? Nobody knows. And it's the same for Metro North. They have an additional person on their council, but what county executive recommends it? The city of New York, the mayor recommends it. So for transit riders, they'll get their bike ped person, but it's crazy.
Yeah.
Jack
Jack suggested maybe I make the recommendation. I said, I'm not sure that that's,
how it works, but
yeah. And in Metro North, the Metro North councils, a local elected official can make a recommendation. So we have one member who was recommended by the mayor of White Plains.
really, wow.
Yeah, supported by the county executive, but their name went in from the mayor. So that's just specific to MNRCC.
Alrighty.
But the thing is also getting the Nassau County executive to move forward on things is extremely hard.
Yeah, that's why I like hunted him down.
You can still hunt them down. I'm sorry to tell you, you're not going to
Yeah.
get very far, I don't think.
Yeah, no, I got
You're
his
a lot
guy.
prettier than I am because I've had interactions with him and he is extremely difficult from one of the other hats that I wear.
No, he gave me his he's like, talk to Mike, and I was like, Mike.
Exactly.
And yeah, and in Suffolk County, I'll just go to Ed Womane's house. I won't do that.
Yeah, I have an organization that I'm part of that we needed him to approve something and it was all set to go. And then he decided, I want more information. And it's holding up millions of dollars of fundings and things of that nature because he's being who he
Yep.
is.
He's being Bruce.
You need David Mack to back you.
There you go.
We've had all the lawyers and everything backing us, and we went to the signing of it all, and then he didn't even show up.
Wow.
Like, yeah.
Well, it's an
Alrighty.
election year for a lot, on the state level. So, if one of your local members of the Senator Assembly is interested in seeing that move forward, this would be their time to pursue it.
Hmm.
Just say.
Alrighty. Any other questions before we move down to Annabelle? Okay, seeing none. Annabelle, you're up.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
The new year.
So I'll start with the January schedule changes. The new schedule will take effect on Monday, January 22nd. So a lot of these changes are based on our efforts to monitor ridership and, of course, customer feedback. So they're specifically, most of them are specifically regarding the request for additional through trains to Brooklyn in the afternoon. There are no changes to the evening and weekend schedules. So I'll go over a few of them, but as always, I encourage everyone to check their train time app or the timetables to see what the specific changes are on each branch. But on the Far Rockaway branch, the 4:49 a.m. train from Penn Station to Far Rockaway will now depart from Atlantic Terminal at 4:46. On the Hempstead branch, the 3:35 p.m. train from Grand Central to Hempstead will depart from Atlantic Terminal at 3:33. And the 6:39 p.m. train from Penn Station to Hempstead will now depart from Atlantic Terminal at 6:38 p.m. Again, as I mentioned, please check your train time app or the timetables just to look at those specific changes. Next, I want to talk about the ADA projects. So very exciting news there. We awarded a contract in December for the station improvement projects at the Babylon, Babylon, Forest Hills, and Hollis stations. So that is underway. The signs are being finalized. Our current ADA project for package 1 has been underway since the summer. So Amityville, Lindenhurst, Massapequa Park, and Copagan have been all active since the summer of 2023. Work at the Laurelton, Locust Manor, St. Albans, and Auburndale stations will begin this year. At Laurelton, we've started mobilizing, laid down. We'll be starting this week. Our first outage is scheduled for the weekend of January 26th. After that, the next major milestone for that project will be staging a crane for weekend work on the weekend of February 23rd through the 26th. And that is it for my update. I'm happy to take any questions.
I have a question.
Sure.
I was looking at the this weekend, which is King weekend, which is for many people a 3-day weekend. And I was looking at the difference between Metro North, which it runs its Monday trains either on a Super Saturday schedule, which whatever that means, or a weekend schedule. And subways and buses are on a weekend schedule. But the Long Island Railroad is running Monday as a weekday schedule. And I'm just wondering why the difference.
We don't have any work scheduled for this weekend that will affect service. So I'm not sure if at Metro North, maybe that's why their schedules have changed for Martin Luther King Day. I can check, but we don't have any work scheduled. So
I think they always do. Sorry, Big Cat just came to say hello. Hi. I think that they always do. I think it's one of those holidays where the Long Island Railroad runs it as a regular schedule and Metro North runs it as a holiday. So I'm just wondering if that's just
there's
been a difference in ridership or if there's another history that.
Not to my knowledge. I can check for you and reply over email just to see if there's a historical reason why we've done this in
Oh,
this
it
way.
could be from complaints from the ridership. I can
Yeah.
tell you personally, not as in my position with the commuter council, but I can tell you personally that I made several complaints when I was working because I had to go in on Martin Luther King Day. I had to go in on Washington's birthday, and the weekend schedules were just not conducive to get me in on time. I'd have to drive. I'd have to drive to Ronkonkoma instead of taking the Patchogue train. It was the only way I was going to get into work, and we moaned and groaned about it. And there was quite a few. If you were in construction, you were basically supposed to work for the most part on Martin Luther King Day. So it was very difficult, and a lot of us complained about it. Yeah, the teachers were off, so they weren't going in. Some other people, but a lot of us had to work. So,
Yeah,
and
that's
at
what
one time
is the case. Anecdotally, I do know that a lot of people have the day as a floating holiday, or they can
Yeah.
choose to work, you can choose not to work. So that could be the reason.
It just was. It was just interesting to me, as So our recommendations for fare integration are to similarize some of the operations, but it's really needs, it just sort of highlights maybe some ridership differences. So I was wondering if that was what it was based on. Adam, I see that you've got your hand up.
First of all, on this subject, Metro North, and I only use Long Island Railroad, but Metro North, on various days throughout the year, has different ways of adjusting the schedule to the ridership, including the middle of Christmas week. LIRR very concerningly has the all or nothing approach. We ran a ton of empty trains and spent a ton of money the Friday after Thanksgiving for no one, or practically no one, to commute. So it just continues to be very concerning how the LIRR is spending our money and not providing us service in my eyes. The main thing I wanted to mention, the first thing I wanted to mention is besides that is the middle seat campaign, which very disturbingly started on the 30th anniversary of the Colin Ferguson shooting. I'm at work in the middle of the afternoon. I went to college with the daughter of one of the people that died in that shooting, and I'm just checking my email on my lunch break, and something pops up from the LIRR about sitting in middle seats and pushing your way onto a crowded train. Given that this incident 30 years ago happened on a crowded train, how could it happen that this campaign is released on such a day?
Well, in response to the, did you see that on social media?
Yes,
Okay, so
that was
we,
the first day that they were talking. Obviously, it's become much more pronounced in the last few weeks, and I have my issues with the campaign. But the fact that it was started on that specific day on both Facebook and Twitter,
so we've been posting on social media for a number of months, actually, since the opening of Grand Central Madison. Specifically, we've been posting, asking people to use the seats that are available. And this is in relation to the crowding on our trains. We want to make sure that everyone's using all the available seats so that we can reduce the crowding and allow more commuters to get on the trains. I can assure you that it was not intentional to post a campaign that might have seemed sensitive. I can definitely go back to our social media manager and see exactly which date the campaign started.
It was Thursday, December 7th, the 30th anniversary, between 1:30 and 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Okay. But I can reach out to him and see when was the first time that he started posting those posts. I just know that we have been asking commuters to use all available seats for a number of months now to reduce crowding on the trains. And that is the reason why.
Yeah, I understand the campaign, Michael. And I have a lot of objections to the campaign too. But my main concern is why was it on that day that it was done and not in any other? Why the 30th anniversary of a major deadly shooting on a crowded LIR train is the day that they release a campaign asking us to do better at squeezing onto a train? It's just another in a long series of really, really, really offensive things that LIRR, social media, and customer service have done to me and the public over the past year. And all this they talk about during this meeting about getting more riders and congestion pricing. It seems that the LIRR goes to excessive efforts to push customers like me away. I'm trying to make it through to this summer. That's the only reason I'm here, is hopefully that things will get better. But I'm going to purchase a second car because the conditions on my branch, Port Washington, are unbearable, both peak and off peak, in terms of crowding, in terms of lateness, in terms of platform safety. And the way I've been mistreated on all of LIRR's platforms, including telephone, is absolutely, I don't even know what to say. So I'm going to stop here for now.
Okay.
Um,
Alrighty.
just really quickly, Mr. Winstein, if you would like to, I know we've spoken in the past, if you would like
Yeah.
to, offline, send me an email, specifying exactly which trains, you're concerned about, we would be happy to look into them. In the past, we have looked at, when we still do, at specific trains that, are overcrowded, and where we can make adjustments, we do. So if.
So one of my questions is, there is I take the 7:02 train mainly.
Mhm.
My 35-minute commute on the 7:30 train, changing at Woodside to the subway to Astoria, my 35-minute commute before last November took me an hour and 15 minutes this morning. I had left home a half hour earlier and I actually got to work 5 minutes later. The amount of time I'm losing with my job and my family since February 27th, not to mention the unsafe conditions. And it's every train, it's 10 o'clock at night on a Friday. The long travel times, the lateness, the conditions, it's not one specific train. I know Mr. Garcia emailed me March 1st after the first 3 days of Grand Central that there's going to be monitoring and adjustments. There has not been one adjustment or even tweak or improvement to the acute conditions of the first few days of Grand Central. It is still February 27th every morning on my branch, because they keep saying something's going to be done and there have not been any changes for 11 months.
So firstly, I'll say, we'll look into that specific train for you. Secondly, I do want to mention that we made a couple of changes since then. In November, actually, we made a couple of changes with trains that were going to Grand Central. We changed those trains, had them going to Penn Station, and then actually heard comments from commuters who were pretty happy with their commute to Grand Central, made some more adjustments. So we've been making a number of adjustments since then.
They made adjustments on November 13th and they basically undid them on November 27th. So everything is still identical to February 27th. The governor and Chairman Lieber and everybody else promised that there would be tweaks and adjustments, and if you give a few days or weeks, things would get better. There has not been one slight change or improvement in 11 months.
I know that Annabelle had offered to have a conversation about the specific trains offline. I think that's probably a good way to continue that conversation, because I know we've seen a lot of adjustments to the trains. So since
I
you
understand, just
experiencing
not,
it,
my branch doesn't go through Jamaica, so we've been
I know
ignored.
that. Yeah. Larry, you've got your hand up. Thank you for that. Larry.
It was just a trivial thing from Jerry, because it was said today that the Martin Luther King Day, even though it's a federal holiday, it's a day on, not a day off. So even though it's a federal holiday, things are still open. So that's part of the reason. I'm sure that's why the railroad is running also a fuller schedule than a holiday schedule. And you took my hand down. Oh, good. Now I don't have to search for it.
I haven't accidentally knocked anybody out, so I'm getting better at this after what, 3 years, 3.5, almost 4 years, right?
Okay, well, last call before we let Annabelle go. Alrighty, so we'll move down. Basically for discussion of our goals and priorities. I mentioned in my chair's report what I was looking for. Obviously, if we want input from all of our council members. So if anyone else has something that if someone else has something that they want to suggest, that should be a goal for us to pursue. Please let us know. Did I see someone with the hand up? Is it
Stu had
Stu?
his hand up,
Okay.
and then he took it down.
I'm sorry,
okay.
that was, I was late. That was for Annabelle and she's gone. So I'll wait till old and new business.
Well, what did you have, Stu?
Well, it's obviously my continuing interest in the timetable question of whether it could be made more efficient. I just wanted to introduce an issue which I do not speak with any authority about, but I have been told on the Montauk branch, and I presume it's all the C3 trains, cars, that the positive train control has been causing some delays. So for instance, sometimes a train just stops between stations and there's no work crews and there doesn't seem to be any reason. I'm told that's because the wheels sometimes spin, even when it's dry, but especially if there's leaves or wet on the track. And so the train just goes into emergency. Uh, and I'm also told, and again, I don't say this based on authority, but it's information I've gathered, that sometimes the positive train control will cause the train to slow down, even though it's in a higher speed limit zone. So that may be, I'm seeing Lisa shake her head, so she may already know about this. But that seems like one of the bases for why the train's often delayed.
We've heard about the positive train control from some of the train drivers. That it has an effect, that it overrides the speed limit in some cases, but it's a federal law and there's no getting around that. So positive train control is what's here to stay. The M3s don't run to Montauk though. Those are the double deckers that go out in the diesels. So
Yeah, clearly I don't know the designations correctly, but
the M3s are the ones that look like there should be fish swimming through them.
Yeah.
There's one that literally have duct tape and bubble gum holding them, little doors closed. Yeah, they're the ones that are primarily running between Jamaica and Brooklyn, sadly. And the double deckers are the ones that head out to Montauk mostly. I think
Yep.
only, yeah.
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 So I'm going to mention this as well. I'm sure I'm the 100,000th person to tell you this, but it's really frustrating when you're traveling on a train off of rush hour. You get into Jamaica, you see the connecting train right across the platform from you, and they close the doors in your face.
Yep.
And then you have to wait the last time I did it was 14 minutes plus the 3-minute delay. I understand the policy where you want to try to keep trains on time, although that doesn't seem to be the Long Island Railroad's policy. But, it's the loss of 30 seconds or even 60 seconds to let people from an originating train connect in Jamaica, and forcing them to wait another 15 minutes just doesn't seem rational to me.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, you everybody here has experienced that, I think. It's extremely frustrating.
I figured that
And
would.
that's been a battle I've been fighting ever since Grand Central Madison opened. In fact, the term transfer opportunities raises the hair on the back of my neck. I don't. It's just like transfer opportunity. No, there should be connections, and that's something I will fight for. And in your case, you're lucky if it's only 15 minutes. If you're waiting to go on a train to Oyster Bay or Port Jefferson, you could be waiting 45 minutes for your next train.
Yeah, exactly.
So I hear what you're talking about.
I also just want to pick up on what Mr. Wittenstein said about crowding. I don't know if this relates to him or not, but I would be interested in learning what the Long Island Railroad rule is for closing off cars when the crew decides that there's not enough passengers to justify opening them all. I mention this because what typically happens, and it has not happened as much lately, so it's possible that the policy changed since the pandemic. But what often happens is the crew will decide to compact everyone into a smaller number of cars. People end up standing because they don't want to be in the middle seat, or they want to be with their friends and family. And then eventually the train gets crowded anyway, so they have to open up the other cars. And so some cars are more crowded. It takes longer to load. People have to start walking between cars and so on. So it would just be worth learning what the policy is now about when a crew can close down cars, other than obviously for technical reasons or something like that. I have 3,000 other comments, but I'm not going to make them now. I appreciate your time, and I will return, until I hear about the schedule, timetable issues. So thank you.
Alrighty, that's a good point. I think it's pretty much a decision by the train crews. I don't know if there is a set policy, but it is something we'll definitely ask that question.
Okay,
Okay,
thank,
Adam, another question?
no,
Lisa?
Now, Deborah and Adam have their hands raised, but I just want to see if we can get through the goals and priorities from the council members. If
Okay,
we could, piggyback off, you had started by going, to the, speaking about the, I often say that, my priority in life, aside from being on The Price is Right, is getting voting membership for our council members on the
Yeah.
MTV. And and I am going to do both of those two things. That's my priorities. But I think, that we've got a good shot at it this year. And I think that changing our authorizing legislation for this council is going to be really important to helping get more names. But when you combine that with making sure that we have a voting seat at the table, that's going to highlight the importance of the role that the councils play. Some of the things that we, as I mentioned, that we, the staff, are looking at are working with the MTA, but also working separately on the housing transit connection. Looking at some of the legislation that's been proposed in the past, and ways that it could be used in combination with the governor's priorities and goals, and work with some of our colleagues in advocacy in support of housing that is going to be accepted in the communities along the railroad differently than has been done in the past, because that's certainly been an issue. But is that something that you are all supportive of as well? You know what happened the last couple of years. So as we're developing our approach and our path forward, we'll speak with you about what we're looking at and how we're proposing to make any recommendations as we do. Kara and Jack, do you want to throw out any of the other things that we've spoken about? Jess?
Yeah, in addition to the what Lisa mentioned about the transit housing connection, we're also looking at in addition to the budget asks that Lisa had mentioned before, just advancing the Omnibate report and the some of the larger fare integration policies that are more than low-hanging fruit, and helping to get congestion pricing over the finish line so some of these big capital projects can actually happen.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to think of something else, but I think you covered it, Lisa and Kara.
Well, one thing I'd like to add is, and we've mentioned this in the past, we need to make the City Field accessible. That station has to be accessible. I mean,
Yes.
I think it's a personal embarrassment that people come from all over the world for the U.S. Open and National Tennis Center, or sometimes the Mets get lucky and make it to the series or something. It's just people come to see that, the greatest city in the world, New York City, and you have a major station like that that's not accessible. And I've been fighting that battle for 12 years now.
You have, on the record.
I think now's the time, to really push to make it happen. I
So
don't know what we
there's
got to do to
some
get them
good
on the
news.
list.
There's some good news on that front. The borough
Okay.
president just came out with a statement in support of, Jack, do you have that in front of you? You highlighted that the other day, because the land use process for the development is moving forward. And, we testified and we put testimony to Department of City Planning about the development there, but really with a focus on making that station, those
Yeah.
stations accessible. And the borough president came out and said that the developers need to work with, who was it, the city?
I have the quote if he's,
Okay, yeah,
he said, the applicant team should work with New York City Transit to update and help fund transportation improvements to local bus and subway systems.
yeah. So we're taking that, that's great, but we want to take that a step further and really specify what that means. That the development team needs to help fund the infrastructure improvements, the accessibility improvements at that station. So that's a fight we're going to continue to fight. I think Kara has somebody on the inside at DOT who keeps giving her little hints and tidbits about some good news is coming. But absolutely, we will add that as a top priority.
Alrighty. Larry, you got anything? Okay,
There you go. Nope, nothing really to add.
alrighty.
And Christy?
Yeah, Christy, you got any? All right, well, if you think of anything after the meeting, so just shoot Lisa an email.
So there are two things that are sort of hot button issues. One is the electrification project to Port Jeff. But before anything can happen there needs to be Lawrence Aviation Site being turned over to the MTA as a yard. And it's much closer, but I'm not sure it's happened yet. So that maybe can be something that we continue to pursue. And we've written letters of support. Jerry's gone to testify for that before. There is also moving the Yaphank station, and to which is actually something Ed Romaine, the new Suffolk County executive, has been very supportive of. And there's a new location. There's funding for it. There's a little bits and pieces of things that haven't happened yet to make it so, but there has also been talk of electrifying to Yaphank. Mitch Pally, the former board member, has been very supportive of that. And that would make sense if you're trying to increase ridership and attract people to that station. So,
But again, a lot of money, that's where's all the money going? That's been a big holdup on the Port Jefferson branch, is where's the money going to come from?
mhm.
And
Yeah.
is it cost efficient? I mean, I agree. I mean, the whole Yaphank Station thing is like, why are we doing this if we're running 3 trains a day out there, 3 trains back? You have to increase the service. So, I mean, if you're going to do something like where you electrified, you increase the service, and then maybe you get people from Mastic Shirley driving up to use that station because they get a 1-seat ride into the city, things of that nature, that might work. But it's got to be more than just moving a station, because to me, it's a waste of money. But if I say that out loud, the politicians get all riled up, and supposedly that was dedicated funding. The money they allocated for that was specifically for relocating. So it's not like we could take that, whatever, how many millions of dollars it is, and use it someplace else. It's like use it or lose it. So
Yeah. So I'll keep our eye on that prize.
okay.
And Deborah and Adam have their hands raised. If Larry, we don't have anything they want to immediately put on this, we'd just like to, if we can, give Jack and Kara a chance to give the social media and communications update.
Okay, let's go with that.
Yeah, I'm just going to run through a couple of things that we've noticed on social media lately. One is that with the major storm this past week, there were a few weather-related service issues on the Long Beach and Oyster Bay branches that some riders had complained about online. There were also a few major signal issues in the last week, leading to a lot of cancellations and service outages. One east of Jamaica on Tuesday, and then one on Sunday near Woodside that led to a lot of commuters complaining about service suspensions between Penn Station and Jamaica, which is unfortunate. And also some reports of a couple of issues with Long Island Railroad commuters not knowing about cross honoring on the trains leading to Flushing with the 7 train service outages this past weekend. And lastly, just as usual, ongoing schedule complaints about the new schedules and tweaks that people would like to see, including overcrowding and the lack of timed connections.
Great.
Alrighty.
Speaking of the 7 train outage and Long Island Railroad connection, since as everybody in the universe knows, I live on the 7 line. I reached out to the weekend subway czar to ask if there is a way for them to run. Right now, the bus service that they run, the shuttle bus service that they run, goes from Vernon Jackson, which is the first stop in Queens on the 7, to Queensboro Plaza, where you then switch buses or get on get on trains that take you to nowhere near a Long Island Railroad station. Or you can get on another bus that takes you to Woodside or out to Flushing, or to 74th Roosevelt, where then you change for the 7 to go to Flushing. And I did a couple of things. First, I thought that perhaps it would be helpful if they ran hourly service from Hunters Point Avenue over the weekends, so that people could access 8 train from Hunters Point Avenue, from Long Island City, from Court Square. Occurs to me, of course, that that's not an accessible station. So I spoke to Jose and suggested that they run 1 or 2 shuttle buses over an hour over the weekend that are one stop to Woodside, so that you don't have to change buses, so that if you're going to the Long Island Railroad, that you don't have to try and figure out a way to do it by either going backwards or going 2 buses to go east. So he understands, and I'm going to continue that dialogue, because I think that I can't be the only person who's extremely frustrated with trying to figure out how to get on a train.
No, it's good. Unfortunately, logic sometimes confuses them, but it's definitely a point to make.
Yeah. Well, you know what
Who-
is the challenge is that there are 3 different operating systems that don't always talk to each other.
I was
Yeah.
just gonna ask, who were you talking to? I missed, you said you were speaking to someone about that 7 Woodside issue?
Yeah, the weekend subways are.
Yes, thank you.
Alrighty,
I'll keep you posted on that.
okay, I think Deborah has a question. Deborah, you have a question?
Yes, I'm unmuting.
Oh,
Jerry,
okay.
the other person who was advocating with you about the Willis, the Shea Stadium, Willis Point Station, was the lady at Prentice. And Chris and I have been advocating too, and we have made complaints to the Queens elected officials that it needs to be an accessible station. And that's ridiculous, that only if there's a tennis event, then you can go down that lovely ramp, but there's no other way.
Mhm.
So it's frustrating. And the other thing is, when the Long Island Railroad goes to Flushing, there is nobody there at the Flushing station to tell people that they can be cross honored. So there's nobody there, no employees from the Long Island Railroad or MTA to tell them they can use that to get to New York, Manhattan. The other thing is, Lisa, I agree with you 100%.
Hold on, Deborah, hold on 1 second. So there's nobody at the Long Island Railroad at Flushing that says
Correct.
that
Correct.
you can take that you can use the Long Island Railroad to
Correct.
get to. Okay.
And no signage.
Okay.
Chris went out 4 times to check. Same thing every weekend.
Okay. That's in the subway station?
No, it's in the Long Island Railroad. And he didn't see it either in the station. He went down because I wasn't up to going up and
Yeah.
down. He did
Yeah.
it. He checked. He said there was nothing.
I'm not going to be around this weekend, but I will check one weekend.
Deborah, what cross honoring are you talking about?
when you get, okay, when the 7 train is not running into Flushing,
Okay, when it's not running. Okay, never mind.
you
I got it.
can, you can cross, they cross honor you, which is nice.
Right.
The other thing is, first of all, I would like to, the other thing that frustrates me a lot on the railroad is when they try to get, they forget that a walker and a wheelchair cannot make it through the aisles when, if I'm going from Jamaica to Atlantic Avenue, Brooklyn. If I'm in one of, like, the train just pulled in and they tell me, hurry up, get on, I'll have a problem if they tell me, well, we're going into the one track that's the closest, I think it's 4 or 5, to the actual, there's one track that you have to be up in the first 4 cars, or else they can't get me off. So they say, can you fold your walker? And I go, I need it to walk, and if I fold it, I can't walk.
You mean because it's there are only 4 cars platform?
Right.
Like, I
Well-
think it's Murray Hill.
No, this is it from going from Jamaica into back to Brooklyn, Atlantic Avenue.
So either East New York or,
They one thing they had to do was, when they finally realized, they said, oh my God, we have a person with
no, but
disability.
I'm trying to understand what stop you're trying to get off at.
Brooklyn. I think she's talking about Brooklyn.
Go
Right,
to the
but in
last stop.
Avenue.
Yeah, but in
Atlantic
Brooklyn,
Avenue.
all the cars platform, so,
That's,
No.
no, not necessarily.
No,
oh, you
Not
can't be in one of the
necessarily.
last few cars, right?
right, and the problem is that unfortunately I had to make the train late because they didn't want me getting off at the East New York because they felt that what the structure of the platform still wasn't safe enough for me to go on. So at
Yeah.
Nostrand, I came out and they had me go up as far forward as, and they said, I heard them say, oh God, thank God she can walk quickly with a walker, because I could not. But it's frustrating because I would like to be warned in advance that you need me up closer to the front.
Okay.
I don't like to really make the trains delayed, and I don't want the passengers getting upset. But at the same time, I do want to be able to get off safely, and I can't
Yep.
if the
Okay.
train's not in the station.
Okay, yeah, they should make that clear that they want, people that need assistance to be in the first 4 cars.
They don't do that a lot, and I'm not the only one. And as I'm walking, I heard like a couple of people got off and they said, they do this all the time. Do you realize that? And I go, thank you for telling me. I appreciate that. And they said, don't worry,
Okay.
we're not angry at you, but I wasn't happy about that.
Okay, all right.
No,
Make a note of that.
And
Thank you.
I want more of those buttons that when you don't have, it's a button that you push so that the actual train driver sees that you have a person with disabilities or a senior who needs assistance is at the station. Because I realize you can't have
On the
long
platform?
stairs. Yes, there's a
Okay.
button.
How points
push.
at 8 at Atlantic?
Yeah, but no Nostrand I think has, but
At which station, Deborah? Which station?
I want them all I want all of these at every station for this reason. If a disabled person has to get on the train, except where you have like Atlantic Avenue, Jamaica, you had Long Island Cares. So their job is to escort me and make sure that the conductor gets me into the seats for persons with disabilities.
Right, but
But
where do you need the buttons? I just need
on
you to tell
every
us.
station, on any station that does not have Long Island Cares.
Okay, got it.
That's it, okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks, thank you.
Okay, I think Adam's got your hand up. Adam, you
Yeah,
there?
yes. So Lisa was talking about the 7 train, the subways are, I guess the subways are didn't say much other than that they're aware and they'll look into it, that sort of thing.
No, they just asked me to send an email and make an official request.
Okay. And then in terms of the Woodside station, Not so much on the weekends when there's no 7 train. But during the week, the 7 trains are running really, really slowly with all the construction. No matter how much extra time people leave, myself leaves, we seem to all just miss the train at Woodside, or the 7 train finally pulls in. We see the railroad pulling in. We all walk down, and the railroad leaves us behind. We also have a number of people on the Port Washington branch that work in Jamaica and such areas and change at Woodside to go from west back to east. And those westbound trains are usually 4, 5, 6 minutes late. And a train will pull in. There'll be people that want to get onto our train. The other train will be stopped opening its doors, and we'll just pull out. So what I wanted to recommend or ask, especially with the subway construction, and the 7 train construction and everything else going on, if the MTA would consider having a full-time platform person to dispatch trains, kind of like they do it at Mets for special events, to prevent people missing trains, and more importantly, people running crazily, haphazardly up and over through the station with all the construction going on.
Yeah, and I think especially during events, like when there's a game, when there's something.
Well, I'm talking about Woodside, not
Yeah,
Mets.
no, I know, but it's like
yeah.
if there's a Mets game and people are transferring, or if there's even a hockey game or basketball game, people use it as a major transfer point. I
I'm
know
just
the
talking about
construction
the
there,
normal
the
commuters at 4
construction
o'clock
there
on a.
has made it extremely challenging. The first time I went to Woodside after they started the construction, I went in the wrong direction because I had no idea where I was going, and I'm there on a really regular basis. So I was very pleased that they put up signage, but it was, somebody hand wrote the signs. I don't care. At least I was going in the right direction at that point. And there are no express trains, right? No 7 express trains until June.
Right.
So yeah, there are, the apps all say it takes 12 minutes to get to Woodside, and I have never seen that happen. So I'm giving myself 25 minutes anytime I need to get there. But we'll put a note about additional personnel, I think is helpful.
I'm looking more for dispatching, like at the Mets game than the crowding type of thing.
Yeah. That's it. We can inquire about that.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Alrighty.
Hi, Christopher.
Hi, guys. Just because I heard what you guys were saying, and I did bring this up to Annabelle because they were promising staff at Woodside and Flushing, and I agree with you, Lisa, 100%, because you can get lost at Woodside.
It's much better though. The signage really helps.
Yes, and I just text you, Lisa, additional new sign that I did see. So I just want to let you know that I did have a chance because Q and I were on at the Metro and via hi Karen and Jack, long time no see. Just to let you know, I did see a sign they finally put up for accessibility also, but not just for the subways, but the railroad. But the thing is, we do need to watch where they were promising staff at Flushing and Woodside. They have not seen it, this last one. And Annabelle is supposed to get back to me because there was a promise to be made. The only thing that was in Flushing was NYPD and MTA police due to their parade they had on Saturday before the storm.
Yeah.
So I am been watching it as the accessibility piece, but I will say the conductors are aware and still assisting, but there's still, I agree with you, Lisa, 100%. There's got to be staff at these stations when they're doing cross honoring, making sure the accessibility, because the one that Debbie's mentioning about the special button that alerts the crew that there is an accessible customer between the front, the middle, or near the semi back. It is to alert them. And this is at Mineola Station as well as East and Nostrand. They are supposed to not leave the station until they get them on. It's like the same when you're holding the holding lights on a subway. So just letting you guys know, be aware.
Thank you.
Okay. Alrighty, alrighty, to go down to old business. Does any of the council members have any old business? Okay, being none, we'll move down to new business. Do any of the council members have any new business? Okay, being none, we're
There was,
adjourned.
there
Oh.
was a, some update on Huntington Station and the elevators that Randy, shared.
But the
Yeah.
elevator's finally back on service after
Right.
how many months?
Yeah. Uh,
But that was something the railroad had no control over. That was a town of Huntington elevator. I don't know
Yeah.
why it took them so long to get it fixed, but
yeah. Right. Yes, and, right, so the railroad said, yes, finally, so that is the good news.
Under the old business, and I had this in my notes before the meeting started. I can't believe the news about Ron Troy that we started the meeting with. My notes under old business were to ask about Ron Troy's question about how the schedule's made and professional software, if any follow-up was ever received.
On how the schedules are made using software.
How the schedules are made and if software is used.
I believe that we heard that software is used, yes. That
Because
there-
I watched
I
the
don't know that we know
recording
what
of,
kind it is, but we'll look further into that.
thank you.
I mean, that's certainly part of the theme of my ongoing quest is to understand how the timetables are constructed. If there's constant monitoring. We know that the Long Island Railroad measures on-time performance by what happens at the terminus. But does it also record on-time performance at each station? Because often what happens, so I was on a train, for instance, that was 13 minutes late in Patchogue. By the time it went to Spionk, it was only 3 minutes late and it wasn't speeding. So how does, does the Long Island Railroad build these delays into the timetable? Should it? Does that serve passengers well? There's a lot of questions that I think we have about how the timetable is built, as well as the demand question. And this is a little parochial, but on a weekday coming out of Montauk, you have a choice of leaving at 3 in the afternoon or 10:30 at night. So the Long Island Railroad doesn't really know what the demand is for people who want to leave at 5. This is a series of questions, and I just used up more than my allocation of time. So thank you.
well, you
Stu,
know
we've
what?
been-
Stu,
we've
these
been
are
asking-
questions you can bring to the MTA committee, the Long Island Railroad Metro North committee meetings that are held once a month. There you're actually going to have the railroad president there listening to your comments.
Yeah.
That would be my advice is to the public, because the public session is right at the beginning of the meeting before it even starts. And ask these questions.
Okay, I'm sorry. That's is that the commuter council or?
No. This is the MTA. They have board meetings usually the fourth Wednesday of the month, and they have the committee meetings, various committee meetings on the fourth Monday of the month. And
January 29th is the next next
committee meeting,
committee meetings.
Okay, I'll try to make myself present.
and it's usually, yeah, and you can do this on, it's virtual. You can do it virtually. You don't have to be there in public, in person. And we're usually the second meeting in the mornings. So we usually go around 9:30, 9:45, something like that. But you can check, go on the website, you'll see the schedule for each committee meeting.
Yeah, I just put the link to their website with the dates in the chat.
And Stu, we've been asking in regard to the on-time performance or OTP for a long time with their 559 and all that stuff. So it's been a battle that we've been waging for years and years about what is called on time, and there's never been any really defined answer.
And one other thing that I think is interesting is knowing why the trains often depart late. So again, I take the Montauk branch. The connecting train in Jamaica often shows up at the platform anywhere from 2 to 8 or 10 minutes late. The train in Montauk, where there's nothing in front of it, often departs several minutes to again 10 minutes late. There could be technical issues, a lot of technical issues then. My impression is that the crew recognizes that there's all this buffer in the schedule. So by the time they get to the next station, it'll be on time anyway. So that's another question, if they're recording why the trains depart late.
They record incidents.
And
If there's a situation, they do.
Right, and this actually leads to one other thing that I had requested. If you can get me contact for the Freedom of Information Officer at the MTA. Because this is information that should be public and it's been hard to get out of them. So thank you again.
Sure, let's see.
Also, I'll add that I don't know if anyone's noticed, there's been a huge rash of people walking on the track and getting hit by trains in the last month. Quite a few. It's been a growing trend. I don't know what the right word is, but it's been happening a lot.
Yeah.
There's usually not traditionally, historically, there's usually an uptick around the holidays. It's sad, but probably half of these incidents where people get hit are suicides, and there's more suicides around the holidays. I don't know what you can do about it, but it's
nothing.
It's there.
Yeah. Stu, I just put the FOIL, the link to the FOIL page in the chat.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with that page.
Yeah.
The problem is getting a response. What they'll normally do is they'll give you a response that doesn't actually answer the question you gave. And then you try to appeal it, or you try, and there's other issues, like I didn't even receive the response. So I had to phone the railroad, and it took a countless number of phone calls to get somebody to actually get me through to an office where somebody seemed to know something about it, but I can't find out who the FOIL, who's in charge of the FOIL at the railroad and who the FOIL appeal officer is. It's presumably someone in legal, but I've been given name after name, and they respond, "Oh, it's not me."
No, they were supposed to appoint somebody, and I think that just a chief FOIL officer. I don't know that happened, but you should, you can take comfort in knowing it's not you, it's everyone. That you'll see often media stories that where they go, after submitting our FOIL request 3 years ago, we finally gotten a response.
Yeah, I still think it's me.
Yeah.
It's not all about you, Stu.
That's a great note to end on.
Alrighty, so on that note, it's just about 6 o'clock right now, 5:59. So want to wish everybody a happy new year and see you next month.
And
We're
happy
adjourned.
Valentine's Day. And go ahead, Bok Choy. Happy Chinese New Year.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.